Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. We're actually doing something a little bit different today. We're going to take an extremely concise piece of source material, literally just 4 words long, and we're going to conceptually deconstruct the whole thing. We're peeling back the layers of this single phrase to reveal the underlying architecture of human communication. So if you're the kind of person who appreciates understanding the deep systemic mechanics of how things function at the most foundational level, well, you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever just stopped for a second and thought about what actually structures the sounds tumbling out of your mouth right now? Honestly, it feels entirely effortless, doesn't it? You think a thought, your vocal cords vibrate, and boom, out comes a perfectly intelligible sentence. But beneath that surface illusion of ease, there is a highly complex architecture operating in literal milliseconds, and that fascinating reality brings us directly to the source text we're analyzing today.
Consider this exact phrase, generative phonology in linguistics. Now, in academic literature, this specific grouping of words carries massive conceptual weight. On the surface, sure, it might just look like standard, dry academic terminology, but we're going to treat this phrase like a conceptual Russian nesting doll. We'll open it up, one layer at a time, to examine the incredibly intricate machinery hiding inside.
Let's start with the absolute outermost layer of our nesting doll, linguistics. This is the overarching environment of our entire topic. We already know this grand, macro-level arena covers everything, right? From evolutionary origins to grammar, syntax, semantics, the whole shebang. It explores exactly how our brains process symbols and attach deep meaning to them. It's basically the broad map we're navigating, the largest possible container for the concepts we're about to explore together.
Think of this as the macro, the absolute entire universe of human language. And within this macro universe, which remember encompasses every single dialect, every historical shift, every social implication of speech out there, our source phrase is pointing us toward a very specific constellation. The sheer vastness of this macro layer demands that we zoom in. We really have to peel back that outer shell to find out exactly what part of the universe we're actually looking at here. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we step down into that next conceptual layer, phonology. As we know, inside that giant universe of linguistics, this particular subfield zeroes in purely on systems of sound. And to be clear, it's not about the physical, biological anatomy of the vocal tract. No, it's about the abstract psychological organization of sound. We're looking at how sounds group together, the underlying structures, and the invisible rules governing their placement within a specific language's mental dictionary.
Seeing this contrast gives us our precise coordinates on the academic map. We've moved from the massive macro environment straight into the micro subject. We've gone from the all-encompassing study of human language all the way down to a highly specific niche focusing solely on mental sound systems. But simply having a subject isn't really enough, is it? Naming the field and the subfield only tells us where we are. We still need to figure out how that specific subject actually operates in practice.
Which leads us to a pretty fascinating question. We know we're looking at systems of sound. But how do these specific systems actually behave? Because sound isn't just some static collection of noises sitting passively in your brain's filing cabinet. It's highly active. It morphs, it blends, it completely changes based on its phonetic environment. So, what exactly is generating their structure? What is that unseen force taking raw, abstract sounds and organizing them into coherent physical language in real time?
That unseen force is generative. This single, massive modifier is the absolute core of our source text. Everything we've discussed so far completely hinges on this one word. It is the engine inside the doll. It's the crucial term that takes our understanding from a boring, passive taxonomy of sounds and flips it into an active, dynamic process.
Generative, in this context, means acting as a rule-based engine or a framework that actively produces or generates structural outcomes. It transforms a passive list of noises into a dynamic, almost mathematically driven framework. Think of it kind of like a computer algorithm running in the background of your brain. You aren't just memorizing every single possible sound combination in the English language. That'd be impossible. Instead, you possess a generative set of underlying rules that instinctively maps an abstract thought to a physical surface form.
So, the crucial point is that generative acts as the engine. It proposes that there are underlying, entirely subconscious rules producing the surface sounds you hear. Think about English plurals for a second. When you pluralize the word cat to cats, you naturally use an S sound. But when you pluralize dog to dogs, you actually use a Z sound. You don't even think about it. Your internal generative engine instantly applied a phonological rule to produce the correct surface sound based on the voicing of the consonant right before it. Mind-blowing, right? When we lay out the semantic architecture like this, it forms this perfectly logical structure. Linguistics acts as the macro layer, giving us the broad field. Phonology steps in as the micro layer, giving us our specific subject of sound. And generative? That powers the entire thing as the core engine, dictating the rules of operation. It's this beautifully, seamlessly interlocking concept where every single term completely relies on the others to paint a full picture of the discipline.
Let's move to and see how this builds dynamically. We set the boundaries with the broad field, we naturally narrow our vision to the specific subfield of sound, and finally, we activate the entire system with a driving, rule-based framework. We've literally journeyed from the outermost boundary of academic study all the way down to the invisible algorithmic rules firing off in your brain right now to shape your words.
By synthesizing this architecture back together, we reveal that this isn't just a random string of academic buzzwords. Not at all. It's a dynamic, highly layered reality. It proves that our subconscious phonetic systems are continuously being driven by these generative rules, fundamentally describing the core mechanics of human thought and speech. It takes the totally abstract and makes it wildly functional, explaining exactly how we navigate the complex physical reality of speaking without a second thought.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how much depth and meaning can be packed into a single phrase, bringing us right back to our original source text, Generative Phonology in Linguistics. Before this explainer, you might have just glanced at that and seen a dry academic title, but now you can actually see the engine, the subject, and the universe they all inhabit. You fundamentally understand the structural narrowing and the active, hidden framework implied by every single word.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on today. As you go about your day, as you talk to your friends, your family, or even as you just think quietly to yourself, how might invisible generative rules be shaping the exact sounds of your own speech right at this very second? Because you are operating a highly complex subconscious linguistic engine every single time you open your mouth. Pay attention to the sounds you make today and just marvel for a second at the hidden rules generating them. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you next time.